A Texas man is behind bars for killing his cousin while celebrating the victim's birthday. 21-year-old Jose Magareno was arrested last Monday at his Dallas home after police responded to a call about a shooting at the residence and found 19-year-old Emmanuel Nahera suffering from a fatal bullet wound to the chest. Magareno claimed that he accidentally shot Nahera after handing the victim a gun to test his reaction time. He told police that he believed he had removed the ammunition from the weapon before pulling the trigger and has since been charged with murder. The investigation is ongoing and records show that Magareno is being held without bond at the Dallas County Jail. Number 22. Lisbon streetcar crash. 17 people were killed and more than 20 were injured on Thursday when the iconic Gloria Funicula derailed in Lisbon, Portugal. Included among the victims were pedestrians and motorists who were struck by the car after a cable broke loose. The 19th century tram-like vehicle, which carries up to 40 passengers at a time along a steep 990-foot slope and is popular among tourists, crashed into a nearby building, prompting an immediate response from emergency personnel. Authorities have not publicly identified most of the victims, who are all adults and included Portuguese nationals, as well as people from Germany, Spain, France, Italy, Switzerland, Canada, Morocco, South Korea, and Cape Verde. The car's brakeman, Andre Marquez, died in the crash. The tragedy reflects the Portuguese capital's worst disaster in recent history, prompting a national day of mourning in remembrance of the victims. In the meantime, operations on 3 of the city's other funiculas have ground to a halt while investigators work to determine the cause of the wreck. Number 21. Christina Morris. A Pennsylvania woman is facing a slew of charges for threatening to kill her boyfriend's family and nearly stabbing him to death. 39-year-old Christina Morris was taken into custody last week after police responded to a call from the victim at a Cumberland Township trailer home. When officers arrived, they looked in through a kitchen window and saw the couple having a physical altercation. Morris ran and hid when they knocked, and the victim answered the door covered in blood. He said that Morris had attacked him out of nowhere with a kitchen knife while he was watching TV and tried stabbing him in the neck. Police found Morris under a pile of blankets in a back bedroom and arrested her at the scene on suspicion of attempted homicide. Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon resulting in serious bodily injury, simple assault, and possession of an instrument of crime with the intent to use it. She was denied bond and is currently in jail as she awaits an upcoming court hearing. Number 20. Jasveen Sangha. A Los Angeles drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen has pleaded guilty to supplying the illicit substance to actor Matthew Perry, who died from an overdose in October of 2023. 42-year-old Jasveen Sangha admitted to 5 federal charges, including maintaining a drug-involved premises, 3 counts of distributing ketamine, and distribution of ketamine resulting in death or serious bodily injury. Perry was found unresponsive in his hot tub after paying $6,000 for 4 vials of ketamine just days earlier. The 54-year-old had sought the drug out illegally because he wanted more than his doctor was willing to prescribe, and he connected with Sangha through a friend. Sangha was the 5th and final defendant to plead guilty in connection with the case. She could face up to 65 years in prison, but prosecutors have agreed not to seek the maximum penalty during her upcoming sentencing hearing, which is scheduled for December 10th. Defendants Dr. Mark Chavez, Dr. Salvador Plasencia, Kenneth Iwamasa, and Eric Fleming negotiated plea deals earlier this year and are also awaiting sentencing. Number 19. Airborne Long Island wreck. In a shocking car wreck that was captured on dashcam video, a 70-year-old man's car went airborne in Long Island, New York on Wednesday after he had a seizure behind the wheel and lost control of his vehicle. The footage, which was captured by a motorist along the Sunrise Highway in Brentwood, shows the man's 2012 Honda catapulting off a nearby service road, ripping through a guardrail, and flying over 4 lanes of eastbound traffic before landing in the westbound lanes. Fortunately, the car narrowly missed other vehicles and the driver survived with only minor injuries despite his vehicle landing upside down and being totaled. He was taken to a nearby hospital following the crash and is expected to make a full recovery. Number 18. Gonzalo Leon Jr. A Texas man is facing a capital murder charge in the shooting death of a preteen boy who was gunned down during a ding-dong ditch prank in East Houston. 42-year-old Gonzalo Leon Jr. was arrested on Tuesday for allegedly killing Julian Guzman just moments after the victim rang his doorbell. Guzman was participating in the prank, which has seen a recent resurgence on TikTok, with a group of friends. According to prosecutors, the user approached Leon's door several times, prompting allegations that the suspect was lying in wait for their return. A witness told police that Leon fired a single gunshot toward the ground before shooting at the fleeing pranksters. Guzman collapsed a block away from where he was shot and died from his injuries at a nearby hospital. During a search of Leon's home, investigators uncovered an arsenal of more than 20 firearms. He's currently in custody at the Harris County Jail with bonds set at $1 million and is due back in court on October 21st. If convicted as charged, he'll face either life without parole or the death penalty. Prosecutors have yet to announce whether they plan to pursue capital punishment. Number 17. Michael Korosa. A Chicago man with a felony record has been released from jail while awaiting trial for the death of a young boy named Elijah Flores, who was killed during an attempted robbery gone wrong earlier this month. The victim was waiting for a train along the city's Green Line when his caretaker, 22-year-old Jonah Soraya, shoved him onto the tracks and snatched money from a male victim. Soraya fled on foot with Elijah on his shoulders while a second suspect, 52-year-old Michael Korosa, followed closely behind. According to police, Korosa caught up with the pair at the top of a staircase and hit Soraya in the legs with a cane, causing him and Elijah to fall down the stairs. Elijah hit his head on the pavement and Soraya fell on top of him before picking the gravely injured boy up and boarding another train. A bystander called 911 and Elijah died after being rushed to the hospital. Korosa was charged with felony involuntary manslaughter and aggravated battery on a transit employee. He also faces drug charges in an unrelated case, but was nevertheless freed last Monday. And while we don't normally voice our opinion on the cases we cover, we're admittedly shocked that someone would be released under these circumstances, given the gravity of the allegations that the suspect is facing. Number 16. Dr. James Choi. A Georgia dentist has been found dead in his $1.7 million home alongside the bodies of his wife and daughter, according to reports that surfaced last Monday. Police made the disturbing discovery the previous afternoon while performing a welfare check on 52-year-old Dr. John Choi, his 52-year-old wife, Mayong, and their teenage daughter, Grace, in the Atlanta suburb of Johns Creek, where they lived in the private gated community of St. Ives Country Club. Authorities have not yet revealed a cause of death, but are saying that Choi killed Mayong and Grace, leaving local residents shocked by the violent tragedy. In the meantime, officials are remaining tight-lipped to preserve the integrity of the ongoing investigation and out of respect for the victims' family members. Choi attended dental school in Tennessee after moving to the U.S. from South Korea and was reportedly employed at the Highland Dental Clinic in Suwanee, Georgia at the time of the killings. His biography on the practice's website states that he enjoyed golfing and spending time with his wife and daughter, making him seem like a dedicated family man who was happy with his life. Number 15. U.S. military takes out Venezuelan drug boat in what appears to be the start of a heavy-handed campaign against foreign drug cartels. 11 Venezuelan nationals were killed on Tuesday after the U.S. Navy intercepted a contraband-filled boat in international waters. In a statement announcing the deadly strike, President Donald Trump described the vessel's inhabitants as confirmed members of the notorious Tren de Aragua gang. Aerial footage of the takedown appears to show a speedboat exploding as it dashed through the water in an undisclosed location. The strike came on the heels of a weeks-long surveillance campaign that was carried out by the U.S. military, reflecting an escalated approach in the fight to keep fentanyl and other potential deadly drugs off America's streets. Authorities have not specified where they believe the boat was headed or if its occupants were given an opportunity to surrender before lethal action was taken. In a post announcing the strike on Truth social media, Trump clarified that no U.S. troops were harmed and urged criminals to take the incident as a warning of what may be to come if they try smuggling drugs into America. Number 14. Jose Soto-Escalera. In a case that has languished in Florida's criminal justice system for 7 years and counting, 48-year-old Jose Soto-Escalera is finally going to trial for the murder of his pregnant lover and unborn child, who were killed in August of 2018. 23-year-old Tanya Wise was found dead along a rural roadside in St. Lucie County with blunt force injuries after telling Soto-Escalera that she was expecting his child. According to police, she had said She needed money to terminate the pregnancy and threatened to tell Soto-Escalera's wife if he didn't give it to her. Wise didn't use the money for its intended purpose, which prosecutors say caused Soto-Escalera to feel played. A DNA test proved that he was the unborn child's father, and phone records show that he and Wise had communicated several times the night before her body was found. Soto-Escalera was also connected to the crime through cell phone location data, contradicting his denial of any wrongdoing. Jury selection began last Tuesday, and prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. The trial is scheduled to begin this week. Number 13. Sthephany Canizares. A Miami police officer has been suspended from her job after firing a gun during an argument with her boyfriend and the father of her child over inappropriate text messages she found on his phone. According to an arrest report, law enforcement responded to the domestic dispute after 27-year-old Sthephany Canizares called the authorities and claimed she was being held against her will. But she fled the scene when officers arrived and turned herself in later that day. Canizares' boyfriend told police that he feared for his life after he found her standing outside with a gun. So he locked himself in a bedroom with their child and retrieved a gun for protection. She later admitted to firing her service weapon during the incident and turned the gun over when she surrendered. Canizares was charged with aggravated assault with a firearm and discharging a firearm outdoors in a residential area. She was released on bond last Monday and has been relieved from duty with pay pending the outcome of an ongoing investigation. Number 12. Jerome Parker. A Florida man will spend the remainder of his days in prison for killing a 20-year-old to teach him a lesson after he accused the victim of stealing his socks. 31-year-old Jerome Alexander Parker was found guilty by a jury of gunning down 24-year-old Nazir Delaney Rowland at a Tampa park, where the victim had found a package of socks on the ground while hanging out with friends. Delaney Rowland took the package and began walking toward the park's picnic shelter when Parker approached on a bike and began yelling aggressively about the socks. During the initial confrontation, Delaney Rowland threw the socks to the ground and continued walking with his friends, but Parker approached the group for a second time with a gun in hand, and Delaney Rowland was shot in the head as he tried to defend himself by punching his attacker in the face. Parker fled the scene, leaving the socks behind, and was connected to the crime through DNA evidence. A jury found him guilty of second-degree murder, and he was sentenced on Tuesday to life without parole. Number 11. David Schultheis. Charges have been officially filed against an Illinois dad who killed his teenage daughter while trying to kill a buzzard that had entered a Waterloo office building. The tragic incident unfolded in late July when 34-year-old David Schultheis fired at the bird without looking and accidentally shot his daughter, Emma Schultheis. The bullet struck the buzzard, then traveled through a window and hit Emma, who was outside at the time. On Tuesday, prosecutors formally charged Schultheis with one count of reckless discharge of a firearm. He turned himself in after learning there was a warrant for his arrest and was released shortly thereafter. A second suspect, 58-year-old Karen Schwartz, is accused of attempting to conceal Emma's death and the gun that Schultheis was using when he shot the teen. Authorities also allege that she tried influencing others not to speak with law enforcement during the investigation's early stages. The nature of her relationship to Schultheis is unclear. Number 10. James Pate. An elderly Illinois man could spend the remainder of his days behind bars following his arrest last Tuesday for the first-degree murder of his wife. 93-year-old James Pate reportedly snapped and lost his temper during an argument while driving in the small city of Pekin. Pate later told police that he and his 80-year-old wife, Cheryl, were discussing their plans to file for divorce when he parked the car. Cheryl reportedly lunged at her husband and scratched his face, at which point James pushed her away, then grabbed a knife from the center console and slashed her throat. Officers arrived to find Cheryl lying on the pavement beside the vehicle covered in blood. James, who has no known prior criminal history, was also at the scene and admitted to throwing the knife into a nearby wooded area where police retrieved the weapon. He was arrested on suspicion of first-degree murder and is currently in custody at the Tazewell County Jail as he awaits a detention hearing. Number 9. Emily Staten. A Florida woman found herself in jail last week for sending hundreds of messages to the Sebring Police Department in Highlands County, where 27-year-old Emily Staten allegedly filmed videos of herself driving past the station in a threatening manner. According to law enforcement, the ordeal began when social media users alerted police to some alarming posts that Staten had made. Staten is also accused of sending death threats and threats of violence to officers via Facebook Messenger, with her posts and messages totaling more than 200 over a 4-hour period. In one message that was later shared by the department, Staten threatened to throw Molotov cocktails at the police station. She was charged with sending a written threat to kill, using a two-way communication device to facilitate a felony, and threatening a law enforcement officer with death or serious bodily harm. Records show that she's being held at the Highlands County Jail in lieu of $63,000 bond, and her motive for the threats remains unclear. Number 8. Tocarra Moore. A Florida woman was arrested in St. Petersburg last Monday after police say she assaulted her boyfriend and dumped bleach on his clothes because she thought he was cheating. The victim later told law enforcement that he awoke to 41-year-old Tocarra Moore on top of him and hitting him in the back. He said he left the residence to remove himself from the situation and called his child's mother for a ride, but Moore tracked them down in a Walgreens parking lot. Following a brief altercation between the two women, Moore returned home and had one of her children film a video while she poured bleach on the man's clothes, which were estimated to be worth between $2,500 and $3,000. She was arrested on charges of domestic battery and criminal mischief and was released from the Pinellas County Jail after posting a $5,500 bond. Number 7. Amelia Palmer. An Idaho teenager and rodeo pageant queen lost her life in a plane wreck in Wyoming's Bighorn National Forest while flying in her family's small aircraft last Monday afternoon. Amelia Palmer was accompanied by her parents, 54-year-old Earl Palmer and 53-year-old Cindy Palmer, and her younger brother. When the jet crashed just 8 minutes after taking off, all 4 family members were airlifted to hospitals in Billings, where Palmer died from her injuries. Amelia's tragic death came in the wake of her recent victory as the Treasure Valley Rodeo Mini Queen and her placement as a second runner-up in the 2026 Miss Junior Rodeo Idaho. The Miss Rodeo Idaho organization paid tribute to her in a heartfelt Facebook post, which described the teen as pure sunshine. Earl and Cindy reportedly remain hospitalized in critical condition, while Amelia's brother survived with only minor injuries. In the meantime, investigators with the National Transportation Safety Board and Federal Aviation Administration are currently working to determine the cause of the deadly wreck. Number 6. Head-on tragedy in Utah. 3 people were killed after an elderly woman crashed head-on into another vehicle while driving along Interstate 15 near St. George, Utah, according to reports that surfaced last Monday. The driver, who was in her 90s, was traveling southbound in the northbound lanes the previous evening when her Cadillac sedan collided with a Toyota Highlander. She was the sole occupant of her vehicle and died from her injuries. A man and a woman in the Highlander, who were described as being in their 70s, were also killed, while 2 female backseat passengers in their late teens and 20s survived after being airlifted to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police say that the senior citizen drove for a mile in the wrong direction before the crash. Highway patrol officers were alerted to the situation and tried to stop the driver, but were unable to prevent the deadly accident. Number 5. Phillip Fraisar and Kasey Buckmann. A New York man and his girlfriend pleaded not guilty to criminal charges after they were reportedly caught hotboxing in a car outside a Miami Beach hotel with a toddler inside the smoke-filled vehicle. According to police, witnesses saw 36-year-old Phillip Fraisar and 27-year-old Kasey Buckmann using marijuana and drinking tequila near the valet area at the Clevelander Hotel with Fraisar's young son in the back seat. While searching the car, police found a large clear bag of marijuana and the pistol, which Fraisar is banned from owning due to his status as a convicted felon. Fraisar abandoned the vehicle, leaving Buckmann and his son behind, but eventually returned. The couple were arrested on suspicion of child abuse, while Buckmann faces a marijuana possession charge. Fraisar, who has previous weapon-related convictions, was charged with being a felon in possession of a firearm. The pair entered their pleas during a court hearing on Tuesday and were remanded to the Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center with bond set at $8,000. Number 4. Alvina Agba. A woman who was arrested for trying to abduct a child at the Miami International Airport claimed that she was only trying to calm down the 4-year-old boy. According to police, 23-year-old British national Alvina Agba approached the boy and his mother at a checkout counter and offered to help calm the upset child down. After his mother agreed to let Agba hold him, she walked away from the line with the boy in her arms. Agba allegedly refused to give the boy back to his mother, saying, "This is my child," then sat down on the floor and wrapped her arms and legs around him to keep him still. She tried to pull the child back from intervening bystanders who removed the boy from her clutches and returned him to his mother. A witness later said that Agba began screaming to give her child back, but she ran when police arrived at the scene. During questioning, she claimed to have a limited memory of the incident, telling deputies that God had told her to do it. She was subsequently booked into the Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center in lieu of $3,500 bond for felony interference of custody and 2 misdemeanor counts of battery. Number 3. Morriea Turner. An Indiana man has been sentenced to decades behind bars for shoving his girlfriend in front of an oncoming train because he thought she was cheating on him. The incident occurred in June of 2019 when Muncie police responded to a call about a train hitting a pedestrian. At the scene, they found Morriea Turner suffering from injuries to his knees and elbows, along with an unresponsive teenage female who was bleeding from a head wound. The victim was airlifted to the emergency room and survived her injuries, but endured a long road to recovery, including reconstructive surgery to her face. Turner, who is now 25 years old, claimed that he had tried to pull his girlfriend away from the train, but 2 employees who witnessed the incident from a nearby station recalled seeing him hurl the woman into the oncoming vehicle. After deliberating for less than an hour, a jury found Turner guilty of attempted murder, aggravated battery, and domestic battery by means of a deadly weapon. He was sentenced on Wednesday to 36 years in prison, with credit for more than 4.5 years of time served in pre-trial detention. Number 2. Damon Marcus Henry and Bobby Doyle Getz. While detained for assault in Texas, 45-year-old Damon Marcus Henry began exchanging notes with a fellow inmate, 63-year-old Bobby Doyle Getz, who was being held on a murder charge. After being alerted to the correspondence by a third inmate who was tasked with passing the notes, staff members discovered that Getz was trying to bond Henry out of jail so he could kill a female witness, in his case, to prevent her from testifying. According to an arrest affidavit, Getz planned to post Henry's $3,000 bond and instructed him to kill the woman with paint thinner and burn down her house. While searching Henry's belongings, staff discovered a Bible with the intended target's address written on one of the pages. News reports announced last week that Henry has been charged with 1 count of attempting to tamper with a witness and 1 count of attempting to tamper with evidence. Getz has not yet been charged, and both men remain in custody at the McLennan County Jail. Number 1. Keenan Williams. A Georgia man has been denied bond following his arrest for the murder of his ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend, who was shot to death on the woman's front porch in Lithonia in early July. According to police, 35-year-old Keenan Maxwell Williams hid in the bushes outside the residence for hours at a time on multiple occasions, including on the night of 36-year-old Cole Pitter's murder. In the 2 months leading up to the shooting, Williams had also harassed Pitter, shot the victim's car, and broke into the woman's home. After shooting Pitter, the suspect fled the scene. Williams was arrested a month later by the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office Fugitive Unit and has remained in jail since. He maintained that he shot Pitter in self-defense during a court hearing on Wednesday, but was remanded without bond, pending the outcome of the case.